because no one really, that I know of, escalates. In the studies I've read of serial killers, escalates from one day being the nice guy at home completely out to a sadistic killing. There are usually some smaller, crimes, everything from peeping toms to
torturing animals, setting fires,
all those kinds of that trilogy, right? So that the police are sure they've got someone who's a stone killer who's committed other crimes. The DA is offered. Parish offers to help them find the remains of this woman who's been missing for 4 years. Very high-profile case, very much one that's been bothering the police for years. The family has gone to Irene to get publicity and help on the case from the beginning, and they've really wanted to know what became of this woman. And yet, what he wants in exchange, he says, I'll tell you what, we'll save you the trial, I'll plead guilty. You can give me life imprisonment. If you won't go for the death penalty and you give me life imprisonment, I'll show you where Julius Sayre is buried. It's been 4 years. I don't remember the exact location, but I can take you darn close. And so he goes up heavily guarded with a team of forensic anthropologists, the cadaver dog, police photographer, his lawyer, is with the group, and the homicide detective handling this old case.
And Irene, who's along for the story.
And
right.
Irene, because the family wants her to be there. And
then let's not tell them what happens.
I won't say any more.
But it's a terrific premise. It was a very interesting concept for a book. And Bingle then later in the book plays a role helping Irene, and then he's back in flight. Did you run across Bingle? Do I remember you were saying something about a conference of forensic scientists, and that's where you ran into this whole idea?
Right. I really didn't know about cadaver dogs.
Well, who does? I mean.
But I had I had met actually a gentleman at Malice, of all things, this very traditional, cozy conference we were referring to earlier with the Agathas, who was on a panel with me about research. I'm getting a reputation I don't mind having for researching my books. And he was on this same panel talking about forensic anthropology. And he and I began talking about a mutual acquaintance. I knew a forensic anthropologist, Judy Suchy, in California, and Paul Sludzik was there at this conference. And Paul invited me to be a part of the Armed Forces Institute of Pathology's Forensic Anthropology course. This is a week-long course that homicide detectives, FBI agents, people who are planning or thinking of becoming forensic anthropologists attended. There were medical examiners there as well. And it's really a week-long overview given by the top forensic anthropologists in the country. They're all-day seminars for a week. It's just a wonderful opportunity.
It's the kind of thing authors would go for, isn't it?
Oh, yes, yes. You don't know how did you get into doing that things, you know. But so during the course of all this, one section was one of the specialties of forensic anthropology is helping the police figure out where a body might be buried. And that's everything from signs of burial, changes in plant growth, in soil, makeup. It's really a multidisciplinary kind of thing that goes into all of this. That in itself, we could spend a day talking about how do they find bodies. But one of the ways is through the use of these dogs. And the gentleman who was giving that section, talking about the use of the dogs, said that every so often they had to let the dogs find a living person, or the dogs became depressed. And I just heard myself make this little sound when I heard that, and I'm picturing these dogs going, oh, the humanity, I can't, take it, let me find someone alive, or I'll, I can't take it. But it turns out not to be true precisely. Yes, sometimes the dogs become depressed, but it's pretty much believed now that they're fairly certain that that's because the handlers become depressed. And it's really difficult for most of us to imagine the kind of bond that search and rescue handlers have with their dogs. They have to be able to read these dogs. The dogs are reading them as well. It's all a big game. So if what was a game and very fun for the dog suddenly turns into something where this person that the dog is very attached to and very concerned with pleasing is unhappy and not really into the game, the dog, you can't lie to a dog, you know. They read all those signals, and it becomes less fun for the dog. So they find that for people who train strictly for cadaver dog work, that those dogs, and if they're, say, handled by someone who's either used to the idea or who's works in a homicide or has some kind of experience with all that, they're not going to have that emotional reaction. Most of us react emotionally, even if we see death in its sort of pristine, sanitized form that we encounter it. If we find ourselves at a funeral home for someone, we're bothered, even if we don't know the person, we're bothered by the notion of that. So for people who find death in its natural state or from the result of a murder, that's a much more emotionally trying kind of thing. So.
It is. Well, I thought this was brilliant. In fact, I remember Aaron Elkins once said to me when I was complimenting him on his novel, The Dark Place, that a writer only gets an idea that good maybe once in a lifetime. And I thought, you know, when you introduced the cadaver dog, I said, aha, here's Jan, having found this really, you know, fabulous addition, you know, to the series. And the dog can come and go, you know, I mean, depending on the case. It's not like you have to have him there and be part of the family and the whole bit, but what a really great idea. Now, am I hallucinating, or did I not actually meet a dog? Didn't you have a dog?
Yes. Were you at Malice last year? There's a dog that my friend Beth Barkley handles, white German Shepherds. If you met this very, at times princely, at times clownish, white German Shepherd named Czar. Czar is a cadaver dog, and he...
Okay. Well, I did meet you and a dog,
yeah,
and I couldn't remember the circumstance,
yeah.
and I realized you can't really go on tour with the dog. But it would, you know, it really is, from a publicity standpoint, something that upon occasion, if you were in the proper place, you know, actually putting a dog through his paces would be, you know, having the handler do it, you know, would be a really a dynamite thing. So I expect that I will see Bingle again. Are you working on a book now that's out of series?
Yes, I am. It's a thriller, and it's really very different from what's gone before. All new characters. I so far have resisted the temptation to have a phone conversation with someone in Las Pianas. We'll see how long I hold out. But it's entirely different idea. I guess I don't want to talk too much about it, but I'll say that basically it's sort of like Hannibal meets the boys from Brazil, without the cannibalism.
Well, I'm happy to hear that. I don't want to listen to my mother who's driving people eat each other.
No. I'm not into the eating each other thing myself.
Or skinning them for lampshades.
Yeah, no thanks.
The Jeffrey Dahmer thing. I find it interesting because you're kind of at that break point that I see, this is a pattern. I mean, you know, where a writer who has introduced a series, you know, kind of slightly stunned that it's actually all worked out, you know, and they're now writing a series, and they go along for several books. And then there just increasingly seems to be, with almost every successful writer who does this, it's this imperative to do something else. No matter how much you love your characters, no matter how much you love your series, there seems to be this, I've got to burst the bounds and try my hand at something else, and then maybe I'll go back, or maybe I'll go somewhere else, or whatever. So, you know, do you recognize what it is in you that has led you to try this?
Sure. I think it's even why my books are not much alike. I try to stretch. I think that flight since it's the first 7 books are all first person from Irene's point of view,
Right.
in Hocus and Bones there are chapters that are third person from other points of view. So those two have mixed point of view.